Aelian Gunewardene, the founder and managing director of JAT Holdings PLC. Unfortunately, I lost my dad when I was only 6 years old, so it was not like I ever knew him. So my mom raised 5 of us. Luckily, two of my elder brother and sister were 10 years elder to we were. So they were sort of on their feet or getting on their feet when we lost our father. But one thing that my dad had always asked my mom to do or not to do, was to take us out of St. Thompson's, which I think was a smart move. Did a lot of sport in school, rugby, basketball and athletics. Played a little cricket till about under 15, under 17, but cricket was more rich man's sport at St. Thompson's, so we stuck to the rough and tumble sports, as it were, in basketball and rugby. Left college at 18 because all of us had to start working as fast as possible to get some money back into the family in order to make ends meet. At 25, joined Delmage Paints as their marketing manager. So I realized that I was handling, not that I realized, but I was handling mainly the marketing plus the industrial sales of the company. So selling enamels, wood coatings to the steel furniture manufacturers and the wood coating manufacturers. So this industrial market was something I started for the company for the first time. But that's when I realized that the wood coating industry did not have a very good coating, and I was promoting to my management, to the managing director of the company, who took it to the board, to actually bring in a good wood coating from which we were not manufacturing, but even from outside. And this is where I think the whole idea of JAT began. One person, obviously, being a Christian, I always try to follow the faith and Jesus Christ Himself, and some of the basic things about loving your neighbor and loving yourself. About doing what is right, your word being your bond, as it were. That has been one thing that I've always lived by. But guys like Richard Branson are guys that I admired. I had the fortune to spend about a week with him at his resort in the Masai Mara. What I learned from him is where you look after your team, and if you look after your team, the team will look after your customers. And that's something that I have always used as a principle of JAT. When I talk about faith and the fact that it is important for us, and this is all my teachings that my mom brought in on. Of course, St. Thomas's also, from my Anglican background, brought a lot of faith into how we lived our lives. So during school days, like I said, when funds were tough to come by, something that really kept us, on the straight and narrow was the fact that there is always a God above us, and that there is nothing that is not achievable. That something from the Bible that actually resonates with us is if God can look after the birds in the trees and make sure that they are all right, He'll make sure that we are looked after, the people that He formed in His shape and form. There was very little doubt in our minds that we will always do well, and this is why when growing up, there were times that maybe at 12 years old, we had a lot of curry leaves at the back of our garden, and I used to cut these curry leaves and put it on my bicycle and take it to the Daybala market and sell this in order to give mom some cash, to make sure that we make ends meet. So there was always a lot of pride even in the smaller things we did, whether we made our bed properly, when we got up, or we walked to school just to save the bus fare or whatever it was, and certainly go to church, certainly every Sunday, but say our prayers on a daily basis, I still talk to my kids now who are certainly better off than what we were when we were growing up, and talk to them about some of my friends who were in school with us and sometimes who had too much of cash, and how they got spoiled with the excess funds that they had around them, and to make sure that our kids today are humble enough to really appreciate religion, to appreciate that there is a higher power, to make sure that if we give anybody our word, we keep to that. Those have been principles that I've always lived my life by, and a lot of that has come through also good teachings of not only our faith, of course, of being good human beings. So JAT Holdings, as we know, in 2021, we listed the company in the Colombo stock market, mainly because about 5 years before that, we had got a private placement, and I gave up 10% of the stake to maybe give the company the governance that it required. And we had 3 new shareholders coming in, which were very, very good. Dr. Siva Selaya, who is still our chairman from then, and we used to have annual report even at that time. So when in 2021, when the government offered us 14% tax for 3 years if we listed that year, we thought it was a good opportunity to list. Of course, they went back on that promise, unfortunately. But in on the whole, it's a mixed feeling. But we feel that listing the company maybe was the right decision. It will be great for us as shareholders if we had that 14% taxation for 3 years. It's something that I'm still fighting for, and I have not given up. I'm hoping that the government will, at least the new government, will see that that's something which was a policy that they should abide by, and then give us the balanced 30 months that they should have given us. We feel that the current government will be able to help us to push this over the line. But other than that, listing the company has been extremely interesting. It's the new listing rules and maybe the way the stock exchange is run, maybe it doesn't help listed companies as much as they should. I believe the regulation is maybe not ideal for our kind of environment. But having said that, I suppose because there are always companies who maybe abuse the system, regulation has to be tailored to sort of regulate those companies, which is a shame. So for the better run companies, it becomes a nuisance. But when you list, you live with the good and the bad, I suppose. I would tell him what I always told myself is, don't let any obstacle stand in your way. If you have a dream, go for it. Even today, some of my colleagues from the US and Italy and all that just always call me like a serial entrepreneur, because there's a huge part of me. I think it's the sportsman in me that likes to take risks and move towards new opportunities. That obviously today, when it comes to JAT, of course, we have to go through that whole investment committee and the board and everything else, and really make strategically good decisions. But on my own, I can still, in divisions that I run that are not within the JAT Holdings PLC, operation, I can always make some decisions to or to invest in companies that I believe could have a bit more risk, but could have a lot more, profit as well. But just to tell my young self to, follow his heart, do always what is right. So typical day as far as work is concerned is more strategic meetings with foreign principals, with internal senior staff, with occasionally visiting the factories and that kind of. We have several factories here, but it's invariably filled 80% with meetings, and that's why I have to get back home to do my paperwork. The other option is to stay in office till maybe 8:39 to finish the paperwork, but I think that would be very unfair by the family. But so I try to get home by about 7:30 if I can, late as 8, and finish a bit of work here. And because obviously you don't want your driver hanging around too long as well. We have certain fixed meetings, of course, with my CEO every Thursday for 2 hours, with my finance and procurement every Tuesday for 2 hours. Then we have the other divisions of the company, whether it be the property division, whether it be the mining division, whether it be the different divisions of the company that we have or that I run. I like to have the CEO of those divisions sort of giving me a rundown and maybe helping them with how, whatever decisions they have to make. So that's how the meetings go through the day. So we have a basketball court at home as well. We play basketball at least once a week. I'm very, very competitive. That's one thing. When I get on the court, it's all about winning. So, even today, even with my kids and their friends who are maybe 20, 25 years younger than I am, I think on most occasions I'm fitter than all of them. And I practice still, so sport is a big part of my life. But working out and playing some basketball, I do. Being a sportsman has taught me much more than the education that I had. How to handle challenges, how to build a team, how to win, and how to lose as well. So it is very, very important for anybody, and that's something that I am consciously aware when I interview people, is to look at sports being a big part of their lives as well. The fitter you are, the more you can focus at work, the more you can go. I know some colleagues of mine by 5:30 we're having an in-depth meeting. By 5:30 they're just dozing off, and I take the mickey out of them when this happens. But it's all about not being fit actually. Something I always believe is, don't let capital restrict you from doing anything. Today, if you have a great idea and you're willing to really back it, I love those guys who come and tell me, I want to start this. I believe in it. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to take a part of the profit. I don't want the salary, because that's when they know they believe in themselves. And I will personally back them. I know that most banks in Sri Lanka today will back you if you have a great idea and you're really committed to it. So what I tell entrepreneurs are, don't let capital, because that's one of the biggest challenges for a budding entrepreneur is, how do I find the funds to of course, if you have foreign connections and good good VCs behind you and all that, then life becomes a lot easier. But to a younger sort of entrepreneur who doesn't have access to that, how do you find? There's enough of ways of finding funds and people or financial institutions that will back you, provided you believe in your idea and you have a niche in the market that has not been fulfilled. Now, when I started JAT, I realized there was a niche in the market for a good wood coating. And when I filled that, I found another niche in the wood coating industry. When I realized that everybody was using nitrocellulose paints, which was the weakest paint that you can use on wood, and I introduced 2-pack PU like you see in front of you, or on the floor, in the timber floor in front of you is all this is just wood coating. You can walk on it, it doesn't scratch or anything. Then once you fill that market, then you bring in the water-based coatings, which is another niche. Now we've introduced the 2-pack, or we've introduced UV coatings, which is all online, which dries in 1 minute, So there's technology you got to move with. And so if you find a niche in a market that hasn't been filled, in any market, whether it be in Sri Lanka or any part of the world, and you believe you have the talent and the will to fill that market, and a product, of course, go for it, because the funding should not be what restricts you from going towards being a successful entrepreneur.